perceive it as him trying to punish them, basically for challenging him on certain occasions. And there have been, most of the uprisings or sort of small-scale protests in the past have come out of the East. But again, I cannot emphasize enough that this idea of separatism is not something that is present in the consciousness of Libyans.
Because you did wonder when you were listening to some of that speech whether part of it was directed actually at people in Washington.
Yes.
And perhaps in London and elsewhere, who want their oil and who certainly want their ally against Islamic extremism or anything like that, and certainly want stability in North Africa.
What's interesting is when Zayn al-Abidin Ben Ali, when Muammar al-Gaddafi gave his speech to the Tunisian people ostensibly, saying that there was no one better than Zayn and basically chastising them for getting rid of him, Libyans were convinced that he was in reality addressing them, the Libyan people, not the Tunisian people. I'm convinced that Saif is talking to the West, talking to the foreign powers here, trying to scare the Libyans, no doubt, trying to divide them, no doubt. But these threats of separatism, of stopping the flow of oil, of the most ridiculous one, Islamic extremism. This is not an extremist movement. This is a popular movement. I just think that they're completely unfounded, and my fear is that people will buy it, and I just think it's absolutely not true.
How significant then are these tribal statements we've been hearing? Perhaps you can put that into context with us, and the connection then that the tribes will have over any decision that the central government makes.
I mean, he alluded to the fact that 60 years ago, what's now known as modern Libya was sort of divided into these three provinces, Tripolitania, Cyrenaica, and Fazan. And he promised that if this continued, the Libyans would break up into those provinces. But I mean, I don't think that historically most Libyans, especially outside of the major urban areas, have done fine without centralized rule. I mean, it's a fact of history.
And he sort of suggested that too, though. I mean, he said that we do still have actually a tribal structure in society which will be respected. He seemed to suggest it.
And when we say tribal structure, I don't want people to get images of Lawrence of Arabia in their head. It's different than that. We're basically talking about large families, like large extended families, social networks. They're not living in tents or anything like that.
The original social networks. Right.
Exactly. Right. Not the Facebook and Twitter social networks.
But then how much of an influence would their decision-making have on what President Gaddafi would do?
You mean if they decided to join the General Assembly tomorrow?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, how pivotal is their withdrawal of support from Gaddafi? How influential would they be in any future movement?
I mean, most of his support comes from his own tribe, the Gaddafi tribe, which comes from Sirte in central Libya. And people whose economic interests are basically aligned with the regime, people who benefit, either people in the government or people who are informants or people who are in the police. So I would say that for the rest of the people, you mentioned earlier in the broadcast that the Warfella tribe, which is one of the largest tribes that happens to be in western Libya, has aligned itself with the protesters now. I don't think there's a lot of popular support for Gaddafi, even among the tribal groups, and I don't think that anyone will be attending this General Assembly tomorrow.
Najla Abdurrahman, thank you very much. If you're just joining us, you're watching Al Jazeera's coverage of the latest from Libya. We're just past 0000 hours GMT. The reason for our extended coverage, the son of Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi has warned that ongoing protests in the country could spark a civil war. He was speaking in what he called an off-the-cuff address on national state Libyan television. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi also said the General Popular Congress would meet on Monday to discuss reforms and the possible creation of a new constitution. Here's how he described the unfolding situation in his televised address to the nation and to the world.
It developed into big battles in the cities, and it became into a separatist movement, and not only threatening the cohesion of and unity of the national unity of the country. Of course, there were deaths, which was actually fanned by fire insofar as people in Benghazi are concerned. Of course, there were dead people, and there was other reasons, like there was a mistake from the army because citizens tried to attack the army, and of course they were in a situation that psychologically was difficult, and they were angry. The army was not used to dealing with riots, and of course there was exchange of fire. When we have 14 deaths, 84 in Benghazi. So we see the media, mass media, exaggerating, and in fact they speak with exaggeration. People from outside Libya, with coordination with some channels, talked as if they were in Libya. We say also there were mistakes on both sides. The police and especially the unprepared army was mistaken, and of course we have people who were angry and the army defending its position, its barracks, and the people had the right to be angry because they suffered deaths and so on. Every party had its own story, and every party was blaming the other. But the sum total of this, Libyan citizens died, and this is the tragedy.
Saif Gaddafi speaking a few moments ago on Libyan state television. We apologise for the quality of the video feed from Libyan state television. Earlier on Sunday, witnesses in the capital Tripoli told AlJazeera that there have been clashes between thousands of anti- and pro-government forces there. More than 250 people have been reported killed in the eastern city of Benghazi alone. Tom Ackerman brings us up to date.
Casualties keep mounting in Libya's major cities, where security forces have been reported firing relentlessly at anti-government demonstrators. International human rights groups say dozens of unarmed protesters have been killed, hundreds injured. This protester shot outside a government building in Benghazi. Another building was set afire, a scene described by a witness, Ahmed.
A lot of gun artillery and a lot of gunshots were heard. I cannot put you can hear it right now, but 5 minutes ago it was really loud and clear. And also on the south side, which is 3 kilometers south of the army barricade, which is the police academy, it's burning now. It's definitely burning, big black smoke coming out.
Hospitals in Benghazi reported they have run out of supplies, and doctors were unable to treat all the injured. This video, which cannot be independently verified, shows the body of what protesters say is one of the foreign soldiers the government has contracted to help put down the demonstrations. Libyan state television broadcast pictures of the country's leader, Muammar Gaddafi, walking among cheering women and children on Saturday night. Some burned buildings and damage were also shown, but the government denies serious disturbances in either Benghazi or Tripoli. Yet eyewitnesses said violent clashes had broken out late Sunday in the capital's central Green Square. And talking to AlJazeera, the head of eastern Libya's powerful Al-Zawaya tribe has threatened to cut off the country's flow of oil exports.